What is the future of Nigeria and the African people?
The problem of Nigeria does not start and end with the federal government.
Meet Professor Adewale Yagboyaju, a leading voice in political science and governance. With decades of experience as a researcher, lecturer, and policy advisor, he has shaped academic thoughts and public discourse, bridging theory and practice.
Even if you have a Yoruba nation today, there is nothing assuring us that before the end of the first year, we wouldn't have cause for splinter groups.
Join the conversation as we explore the pressing issues of governance, ethical leadership, both in domestic spaces and institutions, misplaced values as African people.
For us, we are neither here nor there.
And the future of Nigeria, because change starts with you.
One thing I've always thought about is, because my mom has always been a teacher. She was a teacher all her life. And so I grew up with a teacher as a mother, which means you wake up at 4 o'clock if you like it or not to read. So, and I now appreciate that. And I saw how passionate she was. And I keep wondering, what is it that motivates someone to want to go into the educational space? For those listening right now that may not know, they've never been in your lecture, they don't know what you teach, what you talk about. I would really want to understand what you say to the audience, to your students. What is it? What is this message that you bring in there? And what motivates you? What motivated you to even start this discipline?
Thank you so very much. To a very large extent, I'll come back to the direct question. But for me, anything in life, what motivates me is to do what I like. And once I like something, once I like a venture, no matter how difficult it is, the difficulty surrounding it does not in any way matter to me. Okay. What matters is that I like to do this thing and I want a result out of it. For academics, which I entered or ventured in from commerce, I have a background in commerce. I was born into commerce, trading. My late father was a trader or was a merchant, and he married my mom into that. We were born into textile trading, and we were part of it. Although I was in the boarding house for my primary school education, I was in the boarding house for my secondary school education. But all along, we've always been part of it during vacation. But out of my restlessness, that there were issues as a trader, I could see that there were complaints from time to time from our people that things are not going right. Nigeria is not working, or as at then.
And Nigeria, this is what year?
Okay. Number one, I was born 60 years ago. Yeah. 60 years ago. As a matter of fact, I turned 60 last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. 60 years ago, meaning that early 1960s.
Yeah.
And I grew up to know that Nigeria was hard. Nigeria was not working as at that time. Nigeria was hard in the 1970s. Yeah. Nigeria was not working throughout my primary school years. Nigeria was hard. Nigeria was not working throughout my secondary school days. I left the I completed my secondary school education in the early 80s. 1980-81. Was in the university in the 80s. Nigeria was not working. Nigeria was hard. And I joined, I became a full-time businessman after my master's degree in 1989-1990. I became fully fledged. I traveled for the World Fashion Trade Fair, first one in Osaka, Tokyo, Japan in 1989. Yeah, I exhibited Ashoke, Adire, and local fabrics. We'll come back to that.
Yes.
So all along, there have been complaints. And I studied political science. I studied political science by accident.
Okay.
Political science was not the original plan.
What was the original plan?
The usual medicine, pharmacy, and so on and so forth. So I was a science student in my secondary school days. As a matter of fact, I offered science subjects, and I wrote science subjects as my for WASC.
Yes.
But in my final year in the secondary school, in the boarding house, I was lured into a gang, so to say, lawbreakers in the boarding house. I was a quiet boy all along, from 1, from 2, from 3, from 4, from 5. What we had then was from 1 to from 5. So from 4, going to from 5, we started from 5, and I was lured into this group of boys who took as a rule breaking rules and regulations, and
the rebels.
I derailed momentarily. I derailed, so such that I couldn't make my subjects in the sciences. I had to retake WAEC, and I was unable to do it in a proper school setting. I went to a center where we were registered to retake WAEC, and the laboratories were not there. So I had to quickly switch. For the first time in my life, I did government. I never offered government. I never. Before
then.
Not
interested?
No, I was interested in the sciences. So to a large extent, I ended up becoming desperate, because all along in the primary school, I was seen or regarded to be a bright boy, a star. If I didn't come first, it would be second, or sometimes third, first to third. In my secondary school days, particularly starting from Form 1, still the star, the bright boy. But from 4 to Form 5, momentarily 1 year, I derailed, and I felt that I missed it. So for the first time in my life, I failed an exam, and it dawned on me that so one could fail. One can actually fail, and it was as if university admission was slipping away. And I was ready to do anything.
So you were desperate. So you went for political science.
Before political science, I tried mass communication, University of Lagos. It did not come my path. I tried, what about law? So I applied for law. Cut long story short, my name appeared in political science. And they said, please, anything to go into the university. Interestingly, I found political science very, very interesting. So for today, there is no regret that I studied political science. I did not set out to study political science. As a matter of fact, I did not set out to study anything out of the natural sciences.
But studying political science does not mean you will go into academia.
No. So I'm just building up. So in the market, with my background in political science, my first degree and my master's degree, I got interested in things that people say about government, how government was not working. And I said, come. How do we resolve this? Must it be complaints all of the time? Must we agonize all of the time? Rather than agonize, why don't we organize to get solutions to these problems? And that was how academics became a bit more interesting. And I said, after my master's degree, what else? What else? What else could I do to have an opportunity to fully study these problems with a view to offering solutions. That was how I started my PhD at the University of Ibadan.
Is that how you now fell in love with?
And that is how I fell in love. The more I did, I was still trading.
Okay, yeah.
The more I did, the more I realized that, at the heart of the problem are more critical factors than what we discuss in the market space.
Okay.
But I must also tell you that I obtained, unquote, degrees in the market in terms of knowledge acquisition.
But what people discuss in the market space is what affects them directly, how they feel the issue.
The head of state of Nigeria was not doing well. The governor was not doing well. The local government chairman was not doing well. Commissioners and appointed public officials were not doing well. Blah, blah, blah. Then I was seeing it from the point of view of an outsider, never knowing that we also contributed to the performance of Nigeria.
They were part of the issue.
My dear sister, almost every one of us, one way or the other, is a part of the problem of Nigeria. And for the solution to come, everybody must be part of the solution. This I came to realize after engaging in the PhD. So my thesis, which was on political corruption, I compared two regime types in Nigeria. I compared the Shehu Shagari civilian administration, 1979 to 1983, and the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida military regime, 1985 to 1993. I compared the two, and I came up with a submission that it is just a difference between 6 and half a dozen.
Okay. Elaborate.
Practically meaning that it is just that one is civilian and the other one is military.
The institution is still the institution.
These institutions are still the same. The constitution guides the civilian administration, and it is supposed to do better, to perform better than the military regime that is guided by decrees formed or put in place by few unelected officials. Yet, corruption during the civilian dispensation was largely solidaristic, meaning that the people who benefited from the proceeds of corruption were more. Whereas it was more egoistic during the military regime. The number of people who benefited from the proceeds of corruption were little, were fewer in terms of number.
How did you then react in the market space, and during your pursuit for academia? How was that? How did it impact your father's view?
Okay. So my father was initially excited by my decision to pursue a PhD. As a matter of fact, I was really excited, but gradually that took me away from commerce, and that now fully established my interest in becoming a teacher. Rather than just investigating the problem and profiling a solution at that time, it also attracted me to pass down knowledge, so as to be able to say, oh, this is what I've seen. It is completely different from what we discuss in the market space. Because to a large extent, in the market space, it is as if the leaders are out from the blue. It is as if they came from...
They are not part of us.
They are not part of us.
Yes.
They are not part of us.
An external force.
That's it. The impression then was that, the leaders are just they just came from somewhere.
Decolonized.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But after the study, I came to realize that even in the university has its own problems, where we teach people to understand problems so as to be able to resolve problems. The university has its own problems that are unresolved. I don't know whether I've made any. So to a large extent, it occurred to me, okay, the same thing that you accuse government of, we have in market associations.
Yes.
We also even have in families.
Are you saying it's the human factor?
It is part of it.
Okay.
It is part of it.
When I hear it like it's the human factor, it sounds like nothing can be done about it.
Oh, of course, we should not for any reason lose hope. We should not.
It's not going to solve problems.
No. We are living because we are hopeful.
Yeah.
We should not for any reason become hopeless. We should not for any reason become despondent. Once hope is no longer there, then it's better to die.
So how does it translate in the family space, like you said?
There are in my own culture, for example, there is the Olori Ebi. The Olori Ebi is the father figure or the leader in the family setting.
Okay.
You have it in the father mother setting.
Yeah.
You have it in the extended family. Okay. You have it in the compound setting. You have it in the community setting. You have the leader.
Is this by age or by?
Yeah, of course, to a large extent, starting by age.
Age, okay.
But somewhere along the line, by fortune, ascripting.
Okay.
By wealth.
Okay.
By wealth, ascripting.
Did that change, or was it always?
I think it has changed for the worse.
Yeah, what I mean is, like, if it started probably more by age.
By age.
Because in the Edo culture, I know we have the same, and like we have the Okaigbe, that's the leader figure of the community or a group, and so age and knowledge and family was always like more or less the criteria.
Thank you.
But as our values begin to shift to wealth or material things, then the value of who is that figure started shifting.
Check again by extension. You got it right. So almost the same. Also almost the same thing. Like I usually say, the values that we have among the Yoruba, you find a replica among the Edo.
Yes.
You find a replica among the Benin. You find a replica among Fulani. You find a replica among Hausa. You find a replica among Igbo, Ishekiri, Nupe, Gwari, all over. You find a replica.
But that makes me wonder that if there were strong indigenous values ingrained in these different tribes and kingdoms before we were merged together as one nation, where maybe we struggled then as individual tribes to identify with the idea of Nigeria, right? So do you think it was intensified, this corruption or materialism or individualism? Was it intensified after like independence, like Nigeria, the idea of Nigeria came?
Thank you.
And we couldn't check it.
I'll quickly come to that.
Yeah.
I'll quickly come to that. So among the Yoruba, for example, there is the Omo Lu Abi ethos. And Omo Lu Abi simply means values personified. The best of values. Integrity, hard work, diligence, and so on and so forth, which could be found in males and in females.
Okay.
An Omo Lu Abi can be a male, and Omo Lu Abi can be a female. An Omo Lu Abi can be a wealthy person. An Omo Lu Abi can be a person who is neither wealthy nor poor. just midway. An Omo Lu Abi can be a poor person. But somewhere along the line, particularly at the time that coincided with military rule in Nigeria, wherein the idea of you can do things, whatever you like, and get away with it, the culture of impunity. Once that was allowed to creep in and to fester, we lost it, we missed it. Such that what is common now, again, going by my own language, Olowo Lagba, meaning that the wealthy man is the senior.
Oh. Okay.
Olowo Shongbubu tan. The wealthy man can do anything and get away with it.
How is wealth defined in this context?
To a large extent, again, wealth is all about money.
Now.
Okay. Again, now.
Yes.
And sadly too, it's not wealth that you have in your bank account.
Okay.
The more of the wealth that you can spend.
So the visible wealth.
Fantastic.
Acknowledged.
The way you spend it.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, even if you can spend on credit,
yes,
you are recognized.
Yes.
Meaning
There's
that if you are ready to live a fake life, you are accepted.
Okay.
You can also find that among the Igbo. And that's why I said, whatever you find among the Yoruba, you are likely to find among other tribal groups.
But that's becoming a
groups.
universal thing, actually, because
gradually it's becoming,
to social media.
Yeah.
The perception that's presented out there today,
Yeah.
even by young people, of a life that they can't even afford.
It is.
But yeah.
It is.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, our music, our drama, our arts, everything revolved around values. Meaning that your beauty, unquote.
Yes.
Your culture is your beauty. What you hold, what you value is part of your beauty. It's part of your personage. But today, the drama, the music, the entirety of the culture is all about money. And not money that you have in the bank. The more that you can spend lavishly, the more that you can waste.
It favors the capitalist.
It does. And it also favors individualistic sense of living. Whereas in the past, it used to be communal living.
Do you think we can, or is there even a need to try to strive to that past, or are we just glorifying the past? You know,
to a large extent, it's not as if the past was also completely flawless. Because to a large extent, again, like I said earlier, that people romanticize with the past, as if the past was flawless, everything was smooth. People paint the picture of the past where once you leave university, a job is waiting for you. No, we still competed. When we wanted to gain admission into secondary schools, then we wrote exams. Not everybody was admitted. Meaning that even then, the space was limited. It was not as if that everything was there for everybody. I've always cited this example, and we'll come back to this old story. And we'll come back to how I eventually joined the university, because that was a decision that was difficult for me to make, because I never knew what was there for me. I just had to abandon business and join the university as a teacher. I've cited this example severally, that in the 80s, as a matter of fact, I think in the mid-80s, one of my lecturers told us the story of how in the mid-80s he applied for a job as an assistant researcher in a leading research institute here in Lagos. Maybe so as not to advertise. It's a federal government research agency around Kufu Abayomi in Victoria Island. He applied for a job mid-1980s. He had completed his master's degree. I think maybe he has started his PhD at the University of Lagos. He applied for a job as a research assistant. There was one space, one vacancy. He said about 20 people applied. They shortlisted, they came to 12. They shortlisted, they came to maybe 6 or 5. For a job in the 80s, what we were told was that in the past, once you leave the university, a job was waiting for you. Sometimes even more than one opportunity, and you have to choose, you select, as if it was just begging to be taken. He said, and at the end of the day, for that just one vacancy, they shortlisted, they used all means to reduce the number. And at the end of the day, they came up with 2 people who tied. And they looked for all means to eliminate one. He said that the last day, they said, who amongst you can type? There was no need for anybody to know how to type then, in the mid-80s. My final year project in the university, I didn't type. How many people could afford a typewriter?
Could your friend type? Could your friend type? Okay. So you got the job based on that. Yeah.
Who can type among you? My friend said, I can't. And they brought out this Ronio. Olympia then was a luxury. The whole of my department as an undergraduate, I'm not so sure had a typewriter. The whole of my department. In my department at the University of Ibadan, up till the late 90s, the whole of the department had one electric typewriter. Not a computer.
Yeah.
Not a computer. I think the first computer in the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan, in the late 90s, that was owned by the entire department, was like this thing, like a big television.
Yes, but what was political science actually about at that time in Nigeria? What was it that you will be teaching?
Government and politics of Nigeria.
Okay.
Marxism. Socialism,
because Nigeria is
development and underdevelopment.
So what is it?
Foreign policy of Nigeria.
So it's mainly external.
Foreign policy of Nigeria with great powers, foreign policy and so on and so forth. Society and economy. With time that came in. So to a large extent, this is how I came into academics. It was a difficult decision because then I had fully established in commerce. Then I had been honored with chieftaincy titles.
Okay.
So to a large extent, I was unquote, a big man in the market space. But because of my curiosity, my love for getting solutions to problems, particularly of governance and the development of our people.
And are you satisfied?
To a large extent. To a large extent.
Did you find solutions to some of the problems and challenges you were?
To a large extent, yes.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, my perception of the problems and how we can get solutions to a large extent appear to be strange to many of my students and colleagues. Because till today, I have come to the conclusion that there are small problems, small issues that are so important to the average Nigerian The problem is that superficial structure.
Yes, that they can't even assess.
That's it.
Yeah.
Not knowing that the problem of Nigeria does not start and end with the federal government or with the national problem or national government. There are problems at the sub-national levels of government.
So you're suggesting it's bottom up?
It is.
Okay.
It is right from the household. Right from the household, where we have lost our values. You can't get it. You cannot do big things when you are unable to do small things. No, it's not possible.
So what values is missing in the household?
Everything that was good about us. Everything that was good. For people who have lost the sense of being able to say, excuse me, thank you, sorry, simple things. We seem not to understand why or how we need to say thank you today. We seem not to understand how and why we need to say sorry today. We seem not to understand why and how we need to say excuse me. Simple things. How
Using the humanity.
we are.
Yeah.
We are largely dehumanized. We don't understand how we need to respect the feelings of others. When we cannot understand that right from the family level, when you cannot say sorry to your dad, when people even today feel that their father is the source of their problem.
Yeah,
when people feel that the mother is the source of their problem. When people feel that their brothers, their sisters are the sources of their problems.
Is this not the chicken and the egg?
It is, no doubt, it is partly so.
Yeah.
But to a large extent, even if we cannot settle the riddle of the chicken and the egg, we should be able to resolve the matter that one is the bottom, one is the top. And there is no way you can build a house without a solid foundation. How can you say you love a house and you are not interested in the foundation? This house is so good, but you need to first lay a foundation. No, foundation my foot.
But
I'm not interested in the foundation.
We don't have a common identity as Nigerians.
It's part
we do not understand the concept, or we do not embrace fully the concept of a nation, because somehow we're just merged together. And we still live yes.
People talk about that as if once, even if we go back to the nations that we claim, again, a lot of people disagree with me on this.
Yeah.
If we go back to what we call nations that were forcefully merged, if I don't know of any other, I can easily use examples of two. One, Yoruba, my place of birth, my place of origin, where my ancestors came from, where my fathers, my father, my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother, at least to the best of my knowledge, originated. I can use the example of Yoruba, and I'll come back to that of Yoruba. And I can also use the example of Niger State, where I did my youth corps. I served in the government, Niger State government house under the military. As a matter of fact, I worked directly with the state military governor in Niger State. So I had the opportunity of relating with people, and that was when I knew that in Niger State alone, you have more than 20 cultural groups, different cultural groups. Nupe, Gbagi, and so on and so forth, Gwari, and so on and so forth. You will feel that for the average man, for the average Nigerian, once you cross River Niger, everything is Hausa. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. Not everybody from the north or from the northern extraction in Nigeria is Hausa. Not everybody is Fulani. There is Nupi, there is Gwari, and there are other tribal groups.
But it's easier to
find
identity in smaller groups.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
People talk as if, take for example, they say, the Yoruba nation. Within the Yoruba nation, there is the Ijesha nation. There is the Jebu. I've cited this example severally. The war between Ife and Modakeke. I don't know whether you... No. Ife is the community where you have the then University of Ife. Today's Obafemi Awolowo University. Modakeke is a community within or a town in Ife. Modakeke and Ife fought a battle for more than 200 years. They are brothers.
Yeah, but this is a human story.
Yes, they are supposed to be brothers. So, more recently, under the presidency of Omo Lu Abi, and I've cited this example severally, for me, saying that even if you have a Yoruba nation today, there is nothing telling us, or there is nothing assuring us, that before the end of the first year, we wouldn't have cause for splinter groups, even among the Yoruba.
Which is healthy.
So we should not think that there is a silver bullet to resolve the Nigerian problem, that once we go our different ways, it will be resolved. We should not, that would be daydreaming.
Yeah, that would be daydreaming. But the point is, with the Yorubas or the other groups that you said had clashes for 200 years, they had the clash because one group could find an identity in their group. The thing I'm asking is, do we, or how can we build this Nigerian identity so that we can all fight for maybe I should fast forward. I think we should learn to understand and live with our differences. Because even within the same family household, there are differences. I hope you have heard about the fight between twins. Two twin brothers fighting, slugging it out, destroying their own business, and so on and so forth, and so many other examples. You have stories of brothers, sisters from the same mother fighting up to the Supreme Court, and so many other examples. So there will always be issues. So this example, law enforced.
What we should try as much as possible to understand, first and foremost, that there will always be differences. We are not the creator. We did not even create ourselves. The Almighty Creator has a purpose for creating things differently. Diversity. So we should try as much as possible to learn our differences and tolerate our differences. There is no way that two people will become one in their conducts except through understanding, mutual respect. As a Yoruba man, I cannot say that the Yoruba culture is better than the Hausa culture. I don't have the right as an Hausa man to say that the Hausa culture is better than Igbo. Let me hold on to the good values as a Yoruba man and respect the views of the Igbo. It shouldn't be ethnocentric. My culture is better than yours. Keep to it. But just the same way for religion. That's the same way for religion. So, and this example that I've cited, let me just quickly land on that. I cited this example severally, in several places. Under the presidency, and I stand to be corrected, under the presidency of Omo Lu Yar'Adua, the Ijebu people, led by the paramount ruler of Ijebu Kingdom, the Awujale of Ijebu Ode, Obasikiru Kayode Adetona Awujale, Ogbagba II, led a delegation of his high chiefs to Omo Lu Yar'Adua as president, demanding or requesting the creation of Ijebu states. And they went along with the Fuji Star. When they made their presentation, the Fuji Star Wasiu Ayinde Masham sang on their behalf. 1 week after, barely 1 week after, the people of Ijebu Remo went, they were led by Oba Michael Shonariwu to Shehu Yaradua, requesting for the creation of Remo State.
Okay.
They went, the Michael Shonariwu, the Akaribu of Remo, went with his high chiefs. They went with a Fuji star, Adewale Ayuba, to sing for the creation of Remo State. We grew up to know Remo as Ijebu Remo, as part of Ijebu. It is today that I have come to realize that Remo is claiming that they are not in any way Ijebu, that they are Remo. So that tells me that if today Ijebu land is said to go, is allowed to go as a nation, don't forget the fact that Ijebu is part of Yoruba. But Ijebu will tell you that they have a dialect that is different from Yoruba. And of course they do. What we write for examination, if you want to offer Yoruba as a subject in WAEC or Yoruba at the university level, what you write is the official Yoruba for communication. If you speak, an Ijeshaman can speak another dialect, that is Yoruba. But that will not be the Yoruba we speak in Oyo.
So what do you tell your students? How do you give them hope? Knowing all this human condition, differences, richness in diversity, every tribe respecting the other tribe. But how do you, and then looking at the state of things that we have now in the country, how do you give them hope? What should they do? How can we build unity amongst ourselves? How can we enforce a system that's just, that will check our values? How can we reinstate more, how will I put it, like more important values? So,
very simple and very straightforward. Although sometimes it sounds simple, it may be very difficult to attain or to actualize. I've always said that keeping hope alive is all about our existence. We should for no reason at any time lose hope. I got this message from one of my professors. I had a presentation in Atlanta in 2008 where I discussed the 2007 general elections in Nigeria. And I painted a picture of hopelessness. That with the outcome of the 2007 general election in Nigeria, there was no hope. And that presentation attracted a lot of comments, questions, and so on and so forth. When we were back in the elevator, I think one hotel in Atlanta, Georgia, we were on our way back to the top floor where our room was. And my professor told me in the elevator, Yagboyaju, that was a fantastic presentation. I said, thank you, sir. He said, did you notice that it attracted a lot of comments? I said, yes, sir. He said, fantastic, keep it up. I said, thank you, sir. Then he said, but you sounded hopeless. I said, yes, sir. Is there hope? He said, how can you say there is no hope? Once there is no hope, we are as good as dead. We should remain hopeful. We should remain hopeful. Because once we lose hope, it means we will be working towards bringing it to an end.
How should we remain hopeful?
We should remain hopeful because we would like to remain in existence.
No, what do we need to do?
By becoming part of the volunteer group.
Okay.
By doing our little bit.
Okay.
Hadiswa, when you do your own part, she does her own part. He does his own part. She does her own part. This crew, I do my own part. The entire crew does the little that he or she, the member of the crew, can do, the aggregate of the small will become a great thing. It's been said, little drops of water. It's been said, little by little. So on and so on. Meaning that once we can get the small things done, big things will happen. Don't forget it all. Big things just don't happen. They start little by little, small by small.
So it's all about holding ourselves accountable.
That's it.
In our spaces.
In our spaces.
Yeah. Rather
than being the complainants all of the time, we should try as much as possible to make our own effort, no matter how little. Thinking that or hoping that as I'm doing it, Adesua is also doing something. We should forget the notion of if you build it and some people are drawing it down, dragging it won't make any effect. No! Think that as you are doing it, someone else is also doing something positive.
Believing also.
Because if what you do, conversely, the small damage that I do, added to the small damage that you do, added to the small damage that she does, means that it is negative added to negative added to negative, and everything will remain negative.
So imagine we are hopeful, we are holding ourselves accountable, we are designing, innovating in our spaces. What role would you see that Nigeria could have in the global space?
Nigeria has the advantage of population. Nigeria has the advantage of diversity. Nigeria has the advantage of a youthful population with a lot of energy, with a lot of ideas. The best of Nigeria can only be imagined. Nigeria stands to gain to become the hope of the black race. Nigeria started as the elephant of Africa, started as the giant of Africa, started as the hope of the black race. It can still attain that, putting everything together. And putting everything together would mean that commerce, art, culture, every aspect of it.
Yeah. And when you say culture, we're going back to Ashoke.
Yes, everything put together.
Your father was in the trade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. My father, Isa Olasokan Yagboyaju, like I said, brought us to this world in that trade. By origin, we are from Ede. Ede is in Osun State. He had his early life in Ede, had his primary school in Ede and his neighbor. His own father, that's my grandfather, was a cocoa produce merchant, and he was very, very prominent. As a matter of fact, he was a phenomenon, my grandfather. So my father came to Ibadan to start first as a clerk to a woman who was also of Ede origin but married to an Ibadan man, and she had a very flourishing business in Ibadan. So my father joined a lady who could be regarded as his aunt in Ibadan in the 50s, I think 1954 precisely, as I was told. My mom, who had been known to his own parents then, joined him in 1956, and they started a family. Meaning that if my father were to be alive, they would have been together for roughly 70 years. My father passed 2012. It was in the Ashoke business, particularly the materials used for Ashoke.
For the weaving.
For the weaving. Cotton, which started by being grown here in Nigeria. Cotton was planted in many parts of the north. As a matter of fact, Ede's climate, the soil, the climate, the geography also is adaptable to cotton, growing of cotton, cultivation of cotton and groundnut in Ede. So, and thereafter started importing yarn already, made yarn.
Was it in high demand, Ashoke, then?
Very, very much in high demand.
What did we use it for?
To a large extent, ceremonies.
Okay.
We should not forget the fact that we are, to a large extent, a group of people that can easily be excited.
You mean parties, celebrations?
We celebrate everything.
So people needed to wear what's called ashwebi.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we gave names to different. The cap that I'm having on is a real traditional ashoke. This is Etu.
Yes.
This is Etu, named after the guinea fowl.
Okay.
Because of the beauty. This cap, I inherited this. I inherited the material. This thing cannot. This cap, the material.
Yeah.
The material of this cap cannot be anything less than 50 years. It cannot be anything less than that.
So that's the quality of
real, yeah. Can be very enduring.
I even heard during independence, they were, during the celebration at the stadium, they were Ashoke weavers lined up to to weave them.
Yeah.
So, but looking at the fabric or our indigenous fabric, I refuse to call it local fabric.
Yeah, indigenous.
The term local is
no.
confusing.
It can be confusing. Yeah,
indigenous fabrics. Looking at it today, does it still have the same value? Like Ashoke, does it still have the same value?
I'll get back. I'll get to that. You see, again, yes, I agree with you. Although local is not uncivilized.
Yes.
But let's use indigenous. We celebrate everything and anything. Childbirth, naming ceremony, chieftaincy, marriage, house commissioning, even up to what government does. Commissioning of borehole, commissioning of schools, commissioning of hospital facilities, commissioning of road projects, commissioning of anything, chieftaincy, burial, anything.
Yes.
New yam, everything. Harvest season, and so on and so forth. So it was in high demand, and that created business for people. As a matter of fact, for some families, it is what they were identified with.
Okay.
I traveled as a youngster to marketing products, selling products to quite a number of towns in the north.
What happened to this business then, generally? Why is then these indigenous fabrics not held, not in the market, accessible like it used to be, or not held in this?
Thank you. Fashion changed.
Fashion changed.
You know that fashion
To what?
is to lighter materials and easily manageable materials. So, and that answers, or that attempts to answer your question as to how it changed from full cotton material. You notice that this does not have no silk, no metallic yarn, whereas it's changed over time to more of what you call shine. Metallic yarn, largely imported from Japan, Korea, somewhere along the line. I don't know what is happening today. Maybe China has joined, but to a large extent, for a very long time, importation of metallic yarn started from India. India. We shifted from Lancashire in the United Kingdom to India.
So it needed to blink more.
Yeah. And with the blinking came lighter materials that do not in any way require any laundry.
And you didn't need to weave it? Are we still talking about
Ashoke?
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, the Chinese came into the trade, making Ashoke look like Ashoke.
Okay.
Shine with machines.
Yeah. That must be cheaper then.
Cheaper.
Okay.
Easy to make, easy to access.
Yeah.
And that discouraged people from wearing the indigenous Ashoke, which was heavier, which was more difficult to manage. You don't need to wash. There is the indigenous
dry cleaning. Yeah.
There is the indigenous dry cleaning, and it is still until today.
Is it that we
they do
have
the indigenous
to like compete with what's coming in from China, level up our textile industry?
No, to a large extent, you are involved in. You don't go into business for any other thing than profit. When the chances of making profit drop, you become disinterested.
No, you
become discouraged.
You can innovate. China had the same story.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But again, a convergence of somewhere where we lose the dignity of labor.
Okay, now we're going into the battle between tradition and
modernity.
Yes.
We lost the value of labor, the dignity of labor. It is strenuous to weave locally. It is cheaper to do it with the machine, to manufacture. So, and more people got discouraged from the hard work. And again, it is part of what led us as a people to where we are today. Even use a farming, for example. Farming to produce our indigenous food intake can be very strenuous. It is cheaper.
Must not be. This is where the top bottom comes, because the government can actually incentivize, and with subsidies, with new machines, with loans, with so many different policies to level up the labor, the hard manpower, right? We have seen this happen in different countries around the world.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
In Europe, the food industry is heavily subsidized. The farmers are subsidized. The milk is subsidized.
But as a people, we must also go back to the roots. To believe in labor, to believe in our sweat.
So you
we have to run away from this notion of in Yoruba.
Explain. Do it anyhow, what?
Do it anyhow.
Quick money, quick, what do they call that? Quick,
sharp. How can you labor for this long, waiting for something to happen? It should happen
because
immediately.
We lack the patience. Because
it never happened. It never happened immediately at any point in time in human history. It has never happened immediately.
But we're living in another time now. If you look at, for example, technology has made it possible that I'm not saying it's good, neither is it bad, but this is the reality of the time now. Before, it will take, when the printing press came, from that time, it took a long time, years before we came to printing press. Then before we came to computer. Then before we came to zeros and ones, the digital age. And now we're going to the artificial intelligence technology. But you could see there is an exponential growth. What takes 100 years to do, now we're doing it in 10 years.
But before the discovery, before the discovery of what makes this possible, don't you think it took some time?
It took some time. We're not there yet anymore, so we can't expect this generation
and again,
to think like that.
At this one, we are still going to get faster than this. So work is in progress to make life easier than it is today. The AI
more complex.
Thank you. Or more complex. The AI did not just emerge out of the blue. It took some people to put in effort. Not one day effort.
No, it's even collective human experience that went into that.
Yes. And it is still ongoing.
But we are there now, so how can we tell young people of 18 years that take your time, do the hard work, the sweat, when they see parallel, they have access? Before, in our generation, we didn't have access to look at the internet and see how someone else is doing it. But right now, my son can just look and see his peers, with what speed and momentum and tools So how do we expect a Nigerian youth today to now sit down and say, because Nigerian factor, I can't go in that pace?
They still need some kind of mentoring, either from the parents or some symbol or some icon that they see. They must be encouraged to look up to somebody or to someone.
Probably the wrong ones, but they have access to
that is where the role of the community, not just the community, because again, when you say the community, people think it should be the community. No, it could be a community of fellowship. It could be the community of people in the mosque. It could be the community of peer associational life. It could be a community of student union in the university. It could be a community of the academic staff union of universities, and so on and so forth. A group, the space that is accessible to you.
You called religion at the beginning. There is a school of thought that says also that the issues that we face now in Africa as a continent, and especially like in Nigeria, religion is part of the problem.
It is part of it because it has been commercialized. It has been commercialized. To a large extent, miracle should not be bought. Miracle is not something that you look for. It's something that happens.
Is miracle both? Can you buy a miracle?
Oh, of course. People commercialize on TV, on radio, televangelist, the evangelist on radio, and so on and so forth. Bring all your problems; it will be resolved. Advertising.
Yes.
No. Miracle is not something that you wait for. No, it happens. It happens while you are not expecting it.
But this is where education then plays a role.
Of course. Education, not education as in what we get in the classroom.
Traditional education.
No, education that you can find anywhere.
Yes, but I still go back to say, does traditional education play a role? Is it important right now? Because there are people that think now that school is a scam. And researching it with my team, why do so many young people think school na scam? There at the beginning, one has to be open in this research, and we found out also that there are some justified reasons. Because when you spend years in a university, 4 or 5 years, even in secondary school, working with some curriculums as back as during our colonial time, and you graduate, everything that you have learned, first of all, is irrelevant to the existence and the status quo outside in the practical world. Then you graduate, that you are not even fit for the market space.
Hadeswa, school not be scam.
Okay.
The school that is scam is that school where people think that school is just the 4 walls.
Okay.
And knowledge can only be acquired from that space. No! The entire world is a school.
Yes. Our existence.
Our existence is about knowledge acquisition. You learn, and you must be ready to learn from everything that you see. And everything that you meet, everything that you experience from time to time.
But my kids spend most of the time in school, right? They spend at least 8 hours with a traditional education. So I, as a parent, demand and expect that when I trust my kids to the academic system, traditional discipline system, I expect to get something back in the sense that they are educated and made fit for building the nation. So how do we resolve educational
a section of it.
A section of it. Okay.
A section of it. Our other sections include what they learn from what their parents do.
That's true. My responsibility as a parent.
Not what just you say, what you also do. What you do. What you stand for. Take, for example, I say these things and people feel that that is not important. Whereas I have always said it. If small things are not important, big things cannot happen. Big things happen because small things are important. And you never can do big things if you cannot do small things. So, starting with respect for the feelings of others, getting to being able to say that if I violate this rule, it is most likely that some people are at the receiving end. Meaning that if they are also violating, I'll be at the receiving end. Learning not to enjoy the feelings of others. Learning to be helpful if you can, but if you cannot, don't worsen the condition of others, and so on and so forth.
So these are values.
These are values.
These
are values. So
values.
Our values are also part of our knowledge.
How can these then be incorporated, or good indigenous values be incorporated in a traditional academia? How do we need, for example, is there something like ethics?
Okay.
Is there
ethics and accountability?
Is that a discipline in the university?
No.
School?
But no.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing this into it. It used to be part of civic education, right from the primary school level. Respect for values, value for honesty, integrity, hard work, and so on and so forth. Never think that it will just come out of the blue.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. So, and it's all come together to now form who we are as a people, accounting for magic does not just will not happen. What you have not worked for is unlikely to happen.
So civic education,
civic education,
and we have it in our curriculum.
Of course, in the past.
In the past.
Up to hygiene.
Where did it go? Where is it?
To a large extent, again, I think the more we borrowed from the Western culture, because it's a huge danger. As a matter of fact, big danger waiting to happen. It could be worse than this. We continue to copy, to ape Western ideas at the detriment of our own values. Everything that is good here will drop to embrace what they do and what they regard as good over there.
Is it collective low self-esteem? Only what the white man says has value.
Why I said is that some 15 years ago, a postgraduate student of mine, a medical doctor, had an argument with me in class. I said it has not been proven that genetically we are inferior to the white man. And the postgraduate student, a medical doctor, said no. He disagreed. That he feels that genetically...
That is his feeling.
Yeah.
It's not a fact.
It's not a fact.
Yeah.
I said until you prove to me, I disagree that we are genetically inferior. I think this is a fundamental thing that needs to be properly studied.
Yeah, I don't know,
because I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and I find it very difficult to understand how in Nigeria, pawpaw, banana, oranges, organically grown, that are nutritious,
yes,
that are healthy,
yes,
tasteful, will be inferior to the Nigerian who would like to eat apple.
Oh God! I don't told you that. I told her.
I wonder.
That is genetically modified and
pawpaw, banana,
chemicals. Yes.
And you see the average Nigerian.
We have a lot to unpack as a group.
Or further rice that is indigenously grown, that is more nutritious.
You want the polished rice without nutrients.
And so on and so forth.
But how can this be brought in academia? Where is history?
From time to time, I say this.
Okay.
And I've always said that even if it is only, if this is coming from me alone, I've contributed my quota. I've said my own bit by volunteering to be different.
With the information and
the information that you need to change your orientation.
Yes.
You need to get it right that as a people, we are not inferior. As a matter of fact, we have values that we should be proud of. And part of our culture is what we eat. Part of our culture is our language. Part of our culture is what we wear. And so on and so forth. For no reason should we be regarded, and for no reason should we accept to be regarded as second class.
But why do you think that medical student came up with that idea at all?
Sincerely, I don't, because he insisted.
Yes.
I said, no. Is there any proof? Has it been scientifically proven? He said, no, but I still disagree.
So is it about lack of knowledge of one's identity? Lack of knowledge of our capabilities, appreciating...
and once you cannot appreciate your culture, you are not fit to live. You should not be living.
So this is a strategy and a practice
to be hopeful.
To be hopeful. It is for us to look within and start to understand, appreciate our own cultures.
And there is still so much to learn about us as a people. And that is where the ideas of volunteerism comes in again. The past that we usually romanticize with, to a large extent, I must also admit that it was better in the past than now. It was better, particularly with regard to giving respect to the feelings of others, with respect to trying to have a decent society, a decent community. I grew up to know my cousins, distant cousins, first cousins, second cousins,
connection
coming together to live at no point in time. Were we less than 25-30 in my father's place.
Oh, those times are gone.
Communal living. Communal living. I remember a friend of my late dad, who came late, a weaver of Ashoke, came in the late 80s without informing my dad. He just came in his Peugeot 404 pickup.
I remember that car. Yes.
With one of his wives, and I think 8 to 9 children. Said, I'm here in Ibadan. I've left my community. Weaving is no longer productive. I'm here to stay with you. Without informing him.
Today that will be almost impossible.
So the next thing was that, we didn't prepare for this. So, okay, go to the house behind.
Yeah.
So, clear one section.
So we had love for one another.
Yes.
We saw one another.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were evil machinations, no doubt about it. There were wrongdoers, there were violators, but they were never celebrated.
Okay. Oh, that's the point.
And the whole community will rise against a violator, either as an individual.
There was a consequence.
Of course.
And that's what.
Of course. So, and gradually, but today, people have seen others doing things, get away with it.
So that empowers them to even. Yeah.
Oh, once you feel that there is no consequence, that if you do any wrong, you are not likely to be caught. If you are caught, you are not likely to be prosecuted.
No, you are born again.
If you are prosecuted,
forgiving thee. Yes. So
these are notions that are strange.
Yeah.
To us, notions that are strange. Go sin no more, and so on and so forth. No!
I spent about half my life in a very Catholic country. And they know this too.
Of course.
You are held accountable. Go sin no more, your sins are forgiven you.
No, but of course. Of course.
That does not.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. The state has a role to play.
Yes. And not even this, even the community has
no. The community is an organ of the state.
Yeah, so why
the state is overall
the ideology that they are not practicing?
It's because we are borrowing other people's.
Yes, and we do not.
And so for us, we are neither here nor there. We are just hanging.
Oh, so
we have dropped ours. We cannot completely ape theirs.
We're in between.
We are in between.
Identity limbo.
It's an identity crisis. We are no longer the owner of ours.
Yes.
We cannot take ownership of theirs because it's not original to us.
Yes.
So we are just in between.
So we need hope. We need to be hopeful. We need to volunteer. We need to start to become accountable in our spaces. We need to embrace good values. We need to see the other. We need to open up our humanity. We need to be able to say, I am sorry. We need to hold ourselves accountable, and the community. And they need to also, we need to see the consequences of our actions. So there's so much to unpack it. There's so much that listeners and viewers can take from this conversation. Thank you so much. We have 3 closing questions.
Okay.
And the first, this is like a tradition. We always love to talk about these 3 things. Now, the first one is about resilience, right? This has been a passionate conversation. I can see how you love political science, you love ethics, you love to educate. And I can imagine you would have stumbled a lot across many naysayers, people that will have other opinions. So how do you find that resilience? What part of your friendship, your community, the connection gives you, and how does it give you resilience to continue on this path?
To a large extent, I think I must give the credit to my late father.
Okay.
It is sometimes quite difficult for me to also fathom. My mom is still alive, but I still cherish the relationship between my dad and myself so much. Even at the height of impossibility, seeming impossibility, my late father will tell you, try. Try. Remain positive. See the positive aspect of life. Don't emphasize the negative. Yeah, there will always be negative, but emphasize the positive. And I've held on to that.
Okay.
Remaining hopeful, even when it looks so gloomy.
Yes.
That so to a large extent, I've described myself as an incurable optimist.
So what bold step have you taken that you would consider bold from your perspective, something that you were scared of doing, but you did it anyway?
Part of it is going into the academics.
Okay.
Trading was really, really lucrative for me. Trading was lucrative for me, and I abandoned that to others to manage my behalf, and I went into teaching, particularly at the university level, when the pay was next to nothing. The family was in Ibadan. I started teaching at the University of Lagos, and what I used on transportation, fueling the car, was much more than what I had at the end of each month. But because I loved it,
Yes.
Whenever I was not in the class with my students, I missed something.
So if you had everything, you woke up tomorrow, you had everything was perfect. Like Nigeria was perfect. Your students perfect. They did not need your teachings anymore because the world was exactly how you could imagine it, and you had all the financial resources in your personal life. Everything is perfect. What is it that you will do?
I'll still try to improve.
Okay.
Because again, going by my tradition, my culture, Ologmo loku ise, omugo oku isimi. Once you can think, you become restless.
Okay, that's true.
You become complacent when you feel that there's no more thing to. But if you can think, you feel that you can still improve. I take papers, my publications in the past. When I read, I say, I can still improve on this. I can still get better. I can still get better. So, attempting to get better, even if I retire today from the university, I still feel that I have something, a message to pass to the community. So from time to time, I still engage people. When even I think that people are not willing to listen, I still feel that one should not be found wanting. One should still be able to pass a message.
Like you're doing right now. This is a new medium to reach people even beyond the shores of Nigeria. Thank you so much. Is that something you think we've not talked about? Because I'm still going to have you on this podcast again for another aspect of this conversation. We're going to find that indigenous value that we've lost and get it back. Yes.
So thank you so very much. I think on the final note, we need to emphasize that we need to raise a critical mass of people, selfless, thinking that we have enjoyed the modest or the very little that we have enjoyed so far because some people in the past were selfless.
Yes.
Some people volunteered. As bad as it looks today, it will get worse if there are no volunteers. If there are no selfless people still trying to say that, no, we can improve. If we leave it to the naysayers, it can't get better.
Yes,
then
that's
we
true.
If we regard what we are seeing today as pepper, it's no cause, so we'll see pepper soup with time.
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much. Oh, it was a pleasure. I'm so happy, excited of the different areas we were able to cover today.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you so very much.